Jacob was the woman's face that is on the
Welcome. The hill was expecting.
Night over, trying to find any reason to be closer. You can't accept the reality of my closure. So I'm gonna start over again now that I'm sober. You were like the night, there's no escaping, but now I see that you were shaping me to never see the morning. But now I've grown older, I'm finally waking up to the sun shining down on me, and I finally noticed some things you did not want me to see, and I just really wish you would let me let you go, but I don't think you can, so listen to my audio.
Where are Elmer, Herman, Bert, Tom, and Charlie?
The weak of will,
The strong of form,
the clown,
The boozer.
the fighter,
All are sleeping on the hill. One
passed in a fever,
Was burned in a mine.
was killed in a brawl,
one,
Died in a jail.
one.
fell from a bridge toiling for children and wife.
All are sleeping on the hill. Where are Ella, Kate, Mag, Lizzie, and Edith?
The tender heart,
Simple soul, the loud, the proud,
The happy one. All are sleeping on the hill.
one died in shameful childbirth,
one of a sordid heart,
One at the hands of a brute in a brothel.
One of a broken pride in the search for heart's desire.
one after life in faraway London and Paris, brought to her little space by Ella and Kate and Mag. All
are sleeping on the hill.
Where are Uncle Isaac and Aunt Emily?
And old Townie Kincaid and Savine Houghton, and Major Walker, who had talked with venerable men in the Revolution. All are sleeping on the hill. They brought them dead sons from the war, and daughters whom life had crushed, and their children, fatherless, crying. All are sleeping on the hill.
Dreaming of what Abe Lincoln said one time at Springfield.
Where is Dillard Sisman?
the buzzards wheel slowly in wide circles in a sky, faintly hazed as from dust from the road. And a breeze sweeps through the pasture where I lie, beating the grass into long waves. My kite is above the wind, though now and then it wobbles like a man shaking his shoulders. And the tail streams out momentarily, then sinks to rest. And the buzzards wheel and wheel, sweeping the zenith with wide circles above my kites, and the hills sleep, and a farmhouse, white as snow, peeps through the green trees far away, and I watch my kite. For the thin moon will kindle herself ere long, and she will swing like a pendulum dial to the tail of my kite. A spurt of flame like a water dragon dazzles my eyes. I am shaken as a banner.
Where is Mrs. Myers?
Where is her husband, Dr. Myers. He protested all his life long that the newspapers lied about him villainously, that he was not at fault for Minerva Jones's fall, that he'd only tried to help her. Poor soul, so sunk in sin that he could not see that even trying to help her, as he called it, he had broken the law, human and divine. Passers-by, an ancient admonition to you. If your ways would be ways of pleasantness, and all your pathways peace, love God and keep his commandments.
No other man, unless it was Doc Hill, did more for people in this town than I. And all the weak, the halt, the improvident, and those who could not pay flocked to me. I was good-hearted, easy, Dr. Myers. I was healthy, happy, comfortable fortune. Blessed here with a congenial mate, my children raised, all wedded, doing well in the world. And one night, Minerva the poetess came to me in her trouble, crying. I tried to help her out. She died. They indicted me. The newspapers disgraced me. My wife perished of a broken heart. Pneumonia finished me.
I am Minerva, the village goddess, hooted at, jeered at by the yahoos on the street for my heavy body, cockeye, and rolling walk, and all the more when Butch Weldy captured me after a brutal hunt. He left me to my fate with Dr. Myers, and I sank into death, growing numb from the feet up, like one stepping deeper and deeper into a stream of ice. Will someone go to the village newspaper and gather into a book the verses I wrote? I thirsted so for love. I hungered so for life.
Oh no, I'm leaving.
My life's blossom might have bloomed! My life's blossom might have bloomed! My life's blossom might have bloomed! My life's blossom might have bloomed!
Henry got me with child, knowing I could not bring forth life without losing my own. Therefore, in my youth, I entered the portals of dust. Traveler, it is believed in the village where I lived that Henry loved me with a husband's love. But I proclaim from the dust that he slew me to gratify his own hatred.
When I died, the circulating library, which I built up for Spoon River and managed for the good of inquiring minds, was sold on the public square, as if to destroy the last vestige of my memory and influence. For those of you who could not see the virtue of Volney's ruins, as well as Butler's Analogy, and Faust as well as Evangeline, were really the power in the village. And often you asked me, what is the use of knowing the evil in the world? I am out of your way now, Spoon River. Choose your own good, and call it good, for I could never make you see that no one knows what is good. Who knows not what is evil, and no one knows what is true. Who knows not what is false.
I tried to win the nomination for president of the county board, and I made speeches all over the county denouncing Solomon Purple, my rival, as an enemy of the people, in league with the master foes of man. Young idealists, broken warriors, hobbling on one crutch of hope, souls that stake their all in the truth, losers of worlds at heaven's bidding, flocked about me and followed my voice as the savior of the county. But Solomon won the nomination. And then I faced about and rallied my followers to his standard, made him victor, made him king of the golden mountain, with the door which closed on my heels just as I entered, flattered by Solomon's invitation to be the county board secretary. And out in the cold stood all my followers, young idealists, broken warriors, hobbling on one crutch of hope, souls that stake their all in the truth, losers of worlds at heaven's bidding, watching the devil kick the millennium over the golden mountain.
How many times during the 20 years I was your leader, friends of Spoon River, did you neglect the convention and caucus and leave the burden of guarding the people on my hands? Sometimes because you were ill, or your grandmother was ill, or you drank too much and fell asleep. Or else you said, he leads us, all will be well. All we have to do is follow. But oh, how you cursed me when I fell and cursed me, saying I had betrayed you. It leaves the caucus room for a moment, when the people's enemies there assembled, waited, and watched for a chance to destroy the sacred rights of the people. You common rabble, I left the caucus to go to the urinal.
I wrote him a letter asking him for old time's sake to discharge my sick boy from the army. But maybe he couldn't read it. Then I went to town. I had James Garber, who wrote beautifully, write him a letter. But maybe it was lost in the mails. So I traveled all the way to Washington. I was more than an hour finding the White House. And when I found it, they turned me away, hiding their smiles. Then I thought, oh, well, he ain't the same as when I boarded him. And he and my husband worked together, and all of us called him Abe there in Menard. As a last attempt, I turned to the guard and said, please, say it's old Aunt Hannah Armstrong from Illinois, come to see him about her sick boy in the army. Well, just in that moment, they let me in. And when he saw me, he broke into a laugh and dropped his business as president and wrote in his own hand Doug's discharge, talking the while of the early days and telling stories.
Only the chemist can tell, and not always the chemist, what will result from compounding. Fluids are solids, and who can tell how men and women will interact on each other, or what children will result? There were Benjamin Panty and his wife, good in themselves, but evil towards each other. He oxygen, she hydrogen. Their son, a devastating fire. I, Trainer the druggist, a miser of chemicals, killed while making an experiment. Lived unwedded.
Reverend Wiley advised me not to divorce him, for the sake of the children, and Judge Summers advised him the same. So he stuck to the end of the path. But 2 of the children thought he was right, and 2 of the children thought I was right. And the 2 who sided with him blamed me, and the 2 who sided with me blamed him, and they grieved for the one they sided with. And all were torn with the guilt of judging, and tortured in soul because they could not admire equally him and me. Now every gardener knows that plants grown in cellars or under stones are twisted and yellow and weak, and no mother would let her baby suck deceased milk from her breast. Yet preachers and judges advise the raising of souls, where there is no sunlight, but only twilight, no warmth, but only dampness and cold. Preachers and judges!
Well, to this generation, I would say memorize some bit of verse of truth or beauty. It may serve a turn in your life. My husband had nothing to do with the fall of the bank. He was only cashier. The wreck was due to the president and his vain, unscrupulous son. Yet my husband was sent to prison, and I was left with the children to feed and clothe and school them. And I did it and sent them forth into the world all clean and strong. and all through the wisdom of the Pope, the poet. Act well your part. There all honor lies.
Thank you, sister. I preached 4,000 sermons and conducted 40 revivals and baptized many converts. Yet no deed of mine shines brighter in the memory of the world, and none is treasured more by me. Look how I saved the blisses from divorce and kept the children free from that disgrace, to grow up into moral men and women, happy themselves, a credit to the village.
They got me into the Sunday school in Spoon River and tried to get me to drop Confucius for Jesus. I could have been no worse off if I tried to get them to drop Jesus for Confucius. For without any warning, as if it were a prank, and sneaking up behind me, Harry Wiley,
all right now,
the minister's son, caved my ribs into my lungs with a blow of his fist. Now I shall never sleep with my ancestors in Peking, and no children shall worship at my grave.
I was just turned 21, and Henry Phillips, the Sunday school superintendent, made a speech in Bindle's Opera House. The honor of the flag must be upheld, he said. Whether it be assailed by a barbarous tribe of Tagalogs or the greatest power in Europe. And we cheered and cheered it, and the flag he waved as he spoke. And I went to war in spite of my father, by our camp in a rice field in Manila. And all of us cheered and cheered it, but there were flies and poisonous things in this deadly water and cruel heat and the sickening putrid food and the smell of the trench dispatcher tents where soldiers went to empty themselves. And there were whores who followed us full of syphilis and beastly acts between ourselves, with bullying, hatred, and degradation among us. And there were days of loathing and nights of fear, to the hour of the charge through the steaming swamp, following the flag, till I fell with a scream shot through the guts. Now there's a flag over me in Spoon River. A flag. A flag.
Oh, the dew-wet grass of the meadow in North Carolina, through which Rebecca followed me, wailing, wailing, one child in her arms, and three that ran along wailing, lengthening out the farewell to me off to the war with the British, and then the long, hard years down to the day of Yorktown. And then my search for Rebecca, finding her at last in Virginia. 2 children dead in the meanwhile. We went by oxen to Tennessee, thence after years to Illinois, at last to Spoon River. We cut the buffalo grass. We felled the forests. We built the schoolhouses. We built the bridges, leveled the roads, and filled the fields. Alone with poverty, scourges, death. If Harry Wilmans, who fought the Filipinos, is to have a flag on his grave, take it from mine.
Harry Wilmans! You who fell in a swamp near Manila following the flag, you were not wounded by greatness of a dream, or destroyed by ineffectual work, or driven to madness by satanic snags. You were not torn by aching nerves, nor did you carry great wounds to your old age. You did not starve, for the government fed you. You did not suffer, yet cry forward to an army which led you against a foe with mocking smiles. Sharper than bayonets, you were not smitten down by invisible bombs. You were not rejected by those for whom you were defeated. You did not eat the savorless bread which a poor alchemy had made from ideals. You went to Manila, Harry Wilmans, while I enlisted in a bedraggled army of bright-eyed divine youths who surged forward, who were driven back and fell, sick, broke, crying, shorn of faith, following the flag of Kingdom of Heaven. You and I, Harry Wilmans, have fallen in our several ways, not knowing good from bad, defeat from victory, nor what face it is that smiles behind the demonic mask.
If you and the village think that my work was a good one, who closed the saloons and stopped all playing at cards, and hailed old Daisy Fraser before Justice Arnett in many a crusade to purge the people of sin. Why do you let the milliner's daughter Dora and the worthless son of Benjamin Pantier nightly make my grave their unholy pillow?
At first I suspected something. She acted so calm and so absent-minded. And one day I heard the back door shut. As I entered the front, and I saw him slink back of the smokehouse into the lot and run across the field. And I meant to kill him on sight, but that day walking near the fourth bridge, without a stick or a stone at hand, all of a sudden I saw him standing, scared to death, holding his rabbits. And all I could say was, don't, as he aimed and fired at my heart.
What but the love of God could have
Testify.
softened and made forgiving the people of Spoon River toward
Amen, little brother.
the bed of Thomas Merritt and murdered him beside? Oh, loving hearts that took me in again when I returned from 14 years in prison.
Praise
how
him.
that in the church received me and heard with tears my penitent confession, who took the sacrament of bread and wine. You repent, you living ones, and rest with Jesus.
Silent before the jury, returning no word when he asked me if I ought to say against the sentence, only shaking my head. What could I say to people who thought that a woman of 35 was at fault when her lover of 19 killed her husband? Even though she had said to him over and over, "Go away, Elmer, go far away. I have maddened your brain with the gift of my body. You will do some terrible thing." And just as I feared, he killed my husband, with which I had nothing to do with. Before God, silent for 30 years in prison, and the iron gates of Joliet swung as the gray and silent trustees carried me out in a coffin.
Swung as the gray and silent trustees.
Selling flour and bacon and clothes, overalls and gingham for 13 hours a day for 313 days for more than 20 years all day long. Overalls and gingham saying yes sir and yes sir and thank you and 1,000 times a day and all for $50 a month, living in the stinking rattle trap commercial and compelled to go to Sunday school and to listen to the Rev Abner P 104 times a year for more than an hour at a time because Thomas Rhodes worked the store and the bank as well as the church. So while I was tying my necktie that morning, I saw myself in the glass, my hair all gray, my face like a sodden pie. So I cursed and cursed. You old thing, you cowardly dog, you rotten pauper. You rode slave. So I just bummed that I was having a fight with someone, and I looked at the transom just in time to see me fall on the floor in a heap from a broken vein in my head.
This weeping willow, why do you not plant a few for the millions of children not yet born, as well as for us? Are they not non-existent or cells asleep without mind, or do they come to earth, their birth rupturing the memory of previous being? Answer! The field of unexplored intuition is yours, but in any case, why not plant willows for them as well as for us?
My name used to be in the papers daily as having dined somewhere, traveled somewhere, or rented a house in Paris, where I entertained the nobility. I was forever eating or traveling or taking a cure at Baden-Baden. Now I'm here to do honor to Spoon River, here beside the family whence I sprang. No one cares now where I dined, or lived, or whom I entertained, or how often I took the cure at Baden-Baden.
Ye who are kicking against fate, tell me how it is that on this hillside running down to the river, which fronts the sun and the south wind, this plant draws from air and soil poison and becomes poison ivy? And this plant draws from the same air and soil sweet elixirs and colors become arbutus, and both flourish? You may blame Spoon River for what it is, but whom do you blame for the will in you that feeds itself and makes you dockweed, jimson, dandelion, or mullein, and which can never use any soil or air so as to make you jessamine or wisteria?
I was not beloved of the villagers, but all because I spoke my mind, and met those who transgressed against me with plain remonstrance, nor hiding, nor nurturing, nor secret griefs, nor grudges. The act of the Spartan boy was greatly closed. The one who hid the wolf in his cloak, letting it devour him uncomplainingly, it's braver, I think, to snatch the wolf forth and fight him openly, even in the street, amidst howls and dust, amidst dust and howls of pain. The tongue may be an unruly member, but silence poisons the soul.
Yes?
Never mind.
Berate me who will. I am content.
Sorry, Where is Mr. Pauline Barrett? Almost the shell of a woman after the surgeon's knife, and almost a year to creep back into strength. Till the dawn of our wedding decennial found me our nice seeming self again. We walked the forest together by a path of soundless moss and turf. But I could not look in your eyes, and you could not look in my eyes. For such sorrow was ours. The beginning of gray in your hair, and I but a shell of myself. And what did we talk of? Sky and water? Anything else to hide our thoughts. And then your gift of wild roses set on the dinner table breaks our dinner. Poor heart, how bravely you struggled to imagine and live a remembered rapture. And my spirit drooped as the night came on, and you left me alone in my room for a while, as you did when I was a bride, poor heart. And I looked in the mirror and something said, one should be all dead when one is half dead, nor ever mock life, nor ever cheat love. And I did it, looking there in the mirror. Dear, have you ever understood?
A stepmother drove me from home, embittering me. A squaw man, a flaneur, and a dilettante took my virtue. For years I was his mistress. No one knew. I learned from him the parasite cunning with which I moved with the bluffs like a flea on a dog. All the time I was nothing but very private with different men. Then Daniel, the radical, had me for years. His sister called me his mistress, and Daniel wrote me shameful words soiling our beautiful love. But my anger coiled, preparing its fangs. My lesbian friend next took a hand. She hated Daniel's sister, and Daniel despised her midget husband, and she saw a chance for a poisonous thrust. I must complain to the wife of Daniel's pursuit, but before I did that, I begged him to fly to London with me. Why not stay in the city just as we have, he asked. Then I turned submarine and revenged his repulse in the arms of my dilettante friend. Then back up to the surface, bearing the letter that Daniel wrote me to prove my honor was all intact, showing it to his wife, my lesbian friend, and everyone.
If only Daniel had shot me dead instead of stripping me naked of lies. A harlot in body and soul.
I was only 8 years old, and before I grew up and knew what it meant, I had no words for it, except that I was frightened and told my mother, and that my father got a pistol and would have killed Charlie, who was a big boy, 15 years old, except for his mother. Nevertheless, the story clung to me. But the man who married me, a widower of 35, was a newcomer and never heard it, till 2 years after we were married. Then he considered himself cheated, and the village agreed that I was not really a virgin. Well, he deserted me, and I died the following winter.
My life's blossom might have bloomed! My life's blossom might have bloomed! My life's blossom might have bloomed on all sides! Thanks for a bitter wind which stunted my petals on the side of me, which you in the village could see. From the dust, I lift a voice of protest. My flowering side you never saw! Ye living ones, ye are fools indeed, who do not know the ways of the wind and the unseen forces that govern the processes of life. Ah! My life blossom might have bloomed! My life blossom!
Did you find out which one of the O'Brien boys it was who snapped the toy pistol against my hand? There when the flags were red and white. In the breeze, and Bucky Steele was firing cannons at Spoon River, brought from Vicksburg by Captain Harris. And the lemonade stand was running, and the band was playing, to have it all spoiled by a piece of a cap shot into the skin of my hand. All the boys crowding around saying, "You'll die of lockjaw, Charlie, sure." Oh dear, what chum of mine could have done it?
I was the laughingstock of the village, chiefly of the people of good sense, as they call themselves. Also of the learned, like Reverend Pete, who read Greek, the same as English. For instead of talking free trade or preaching some form of baptism, instead of believing in the efficacy of walking in cracks, picking up pins the right way, looking at the moon over your right shoulder, or curing rheumatism with blue glass, I served the sovereignty of my own soul before Mary Barker G. Eddy even got started with what she called science. I mastered the Bhagavad Gita and cured my soul before Mary began to cure bodies with souls. Peace to all worlds.
Maurice, weep not. I am not here under the pine tree. The balmy air of spring whispers through the sweet grass. The stars sparkle, the whippoorwill calls, but thou grievest, while my soul lies rapturous in the blessed nirvana of eternal light. Go to the good heart that is my husband, who broods upon what he calls our guilty love. Tell him that my love for you, no less than my love for him. Route out my destiny, that through the flesh I won spirit, and through spirit, peace. There is no marriage in heaven, but there is love.
I was sick, but more than that, I was mad at the crooked police and the crooked game of life. So I wrote to the chief of police at Peoria. I am here in my girlhood home in Spoon River, gradually wasting away. But come and take me. I killed the son of the merchant prince and Madame Luz, and the papers said that he killed himself in his home while cleaning a hunting gun. Lied like the devil to hush up scandal for the bribe of advertising. In my room, I shot him and Madame Luz because he knocked me down when I said that in spite of all the money he had, I would see my lover that night.
They laughed at me. As Professor Moon, as a boy in Spoon River born with the thirst of knowing about the stars. They jeered when I spoke of the lunar mountains, and the thrilling heat and cold, and the ebon valleys by silver peaks, and Spica quadrillions of miles away, and the littleness of man. But now that my grave is honored, friends, let it not be because I taught the but rather for this, that through the stars I preached the greatness of man, who is nonetheless a part of the scheme of things, for the distance of Spica or spiral nebulae, nor any the less of the question of what the drama means. The secret of the stars, gravitation. The secret of the earth, layers of rock. The secret of the soil, to receive seed. The secret of the seed, to receive germ. The secret of man, the sower. The secret of woman, the soil. My secret, under a mound that you shall never find.
Whenever the Presbyterian bell rang, I knew it as the Presbyterian bell by itself. But when its sound was mingled with the sounds of the Methodist, the Christian, the Baptist, and the Congregational, I could no longer distinguish it, nor anyone from the others or either of them. And as many voices called to me in life, marvel that I cannot tell the truth from the false, nor even at last the voice I should have known.
You are over there, Father Malloy, where holy ground is, and the cross marks every grave. Not here with us on the hill. Us of wavering faith and clouded vision and drifting hope and unforgiven sins. You were so human, Father Malloy, taking a friendly glass sometimes with us, siding with us, who would rescue Spoon River from the coldness and dreariness of village mortality. You were like a traveler who brings a little box of sand from the wastes about the pyramids and makes them real, and Egypt real. You were part of and related to a great past, and yet you were so close to many of us. You believed in the joy of life. You did not seem ashamed of the flash. You faced life as it is, as it changes. Some of us almost came to you, Father Malloy, seeing how your church had divined the heart and provided for it through Peter the Flame, Peter the Rock.
Blossom, it might have bloomed. It might have bloomed. You have to help.
My life's blossom might have bloomed! My life's blossom might have bloomed! Listen to me! My life's blossom might have bloomed! My life's blossom might have bloomed!
Dust with my dust, and dust with my dust. Oh, child who died as you entered the world, dead with my death, not knowing breath, though you tried so hard, with a heart that beat when you lived with me, and stopped when you left me for life. It is well, my child, for you never traveled the long, long way that begins with school days, when little fingers blur under tears that fall on crooked letters. The earliest wound, when a little mate leaves you alone for another. The death of a father or mother, or shame for them, or poverty. The eyeless nature that makes you drink from the cup of love, though you know it's poisoned. To whom would your flower face have been lifted? Botanist, weakling, cry of what blood to yours? Pure or foul, for it makes no matter. It's blood that calls to our blood. Oh, child, what your sorrow? And your children, what might they have been? Child, death is better than life.
We stand about this place, we, the memories, and shade our eyes because we dread to read. June 17th, 1884, age 15 years and 3 days, and all things are changed. And we, the memories, stand here for ourselves alone, for no eye marks us or would know why we are here. Your husband is dead. Your sister lives far away. Your father is bent with age. He has forgotten you. He scarcely leaves the house anymore. No one remembers your exquisite face, your lyric voice, how you sang, even on the morning you were stricken, with piercing sweetness, with thrilling sorrow, before the advent of the child which died with you. It is all forgotten, save by us, the memories, who are forgotten by the world. All is changed, save the river and the hill. Even they are changed. Only the burning sun and the quiet stars are the same. And we, the memories, stand here in awe, our eyes closed with the weariness of tears, in immeasurable weariness.
Reading in Ovid, the sorrowful story of Idaeus, son of the love of Tereus and Procne, slain for the guilty passion of Tereus for Philomela. The flesh of him served to Tereus by Procne, and the wrath of Tereus the murderous pursuing, till the gods made Philomela a nightingale, lute of the rising moon, and Procne a swallow. O livers and artists of Hellas, centuries gone, sealing in little thuribles, dreams, and wisdom, incense beyond all price, forever fragrant, a breath whereof makes clear the eyes of the soul. How I inhale its sweetness here in Spoon River, the thurible opening when I had lived and learned. How all of us kill the children of love, and all of us, knowing not what we do, devour their flesh. And all of us change to singers, although it be but once in our lives, or change, alas, to swallows, to twitter mid cold winds and falling leaves.
Suppose it is nothing but the hive, that there are drones and workers and queens, and nothing but storing honey, material things as well as culture and wisdom, for the next generation, this generation never living, except as it swarms in the sunlight of youth, strengthening its wings on what has been gathered, and tasting, on the way to the hive, from the clover field, the delicate spoil. Suppose all this, and suppose the truth, that the nature of man is greater than nature's need in the hive, and you must bear the burden of life, as well as the urge from your spirit's excess. Well, I say to live it out like a god, sure of immortal life, though you are in doubt, is the way to live it. If that doesn't make God proud of you, then God is nothing but gravitation, or sleep is the golden goal.
You never understood. Oh, unknown one, why it was I repaid your devoted friendships and delicate ministrations, first with diminished thanks, afterward by gradually withdrawing my presence from you, so that I might not be compelled to thank you. You had cured my diseased soul, but to cure it, you saw my disease. You knew my secret, and that is why I fled from you. For though when our bodies rise from pain, we kiss forever the watchful hands that gave us wormwood, while we shudder for thinking of the wormwood. A soul that's cured is a different matter, for there we blot from memory the soft-toned words, the searching eyes, and stand forever oblivious, not so much of the sorrow itself, as of the hand that healed it.
I went to the dances at Chanterville and played Snap Out at Winchester, driving home in the moonlight of middle June. And then I found Davis. We were married and lived together for 70 years, enjoying, working, raising the 12 children, 8 of whom we lost. I spun, I wove, I kept the house, I nursed the sick, I tended the garden, and for holiday, rambled over the fields where sang in the larks, and by Spoon River gathered many a shell, and many a weed and flower. Shouting to the wooded hills, singing to the green valleys. At 96, I had lived enough and passed to a sweet repose. That is all. What is this I hear of sorrow and weariness, anger, discontent, and drooping hopes? Degenerate sons and daughters, life is too strong for you. It takes life to love life.
People say that I am toxic, but it's boredom that I promise they should try being me. And I know the falling in love ain't hard.
I was among the multitudes of children, dancing at the foot of a mountain. A breeze blew out of the east and swept them as leaves, driving some up the slopes. All was changed. Here were flying lights and mystic moons and dream music. A cloud fell upon us. When it lifted, all was changed. I was now amid multitudes who were wrangling. And a figure in shimmering gold, and one with a trumpet, and one with a scepter stood before me. They mocked me and danced a rigadoon and vanished. All was changed. Out of the bower of poppies, a woman bared her breasts and lifted her open mouth to mine. I kissed her. The taste of her lips was like salt. She left blood on my lips. I fell, exhausted. I arose and ascended higher, but a mist as from an iceberg clouded my steps. I was cold. And the sun beamed on me again, and I saw the mist below me, hiding all below them. And I bent over my staff, drew myself silhouetted against the snow, and above me, the soundless air pierced by a cone of ice. Over which hung a solitary star. A shudder of ecstasy, a shudder of fear ran through me, but I could not return to the boat. Yea, I would not return. For the spent waves of the symphony of freedom lapped each of the cliffs about me. Therefore, I climbed to penetrate. I flung away my staff. I touched that star with my outstretched hand. I vanished utterly. For the mountain delivers the infinite truth.
I cannot return.
Uh-oh, it's that time again when I'm unnecessarily feeling less than. It's crazy how a best friend can end up making you feel emotions that you don't want to be set or let out. Free for other people to judge you. Hate so strong, you end up blinded from the ones who love you. And I don't love to be so upfront with all these jump guns, thinking that I might be hurting someone. And you think it might be something you get used to. But really, no, I'm never living like I used to. I'm stuck inside these wild thoughts. It's so easy to get lost when being yourself comes at a cost. Long ago, the worst was a little scary, but now I'm running from these burdens that I can't carry. And now it's very clear that any other universe would be the scene I'm dreaming of. Please.
I just want to be in love.
A small little
wish of mine. I just want to have a shoulder to cry on, so I don't have to lie and sing and crying. I just want to be with somebody. That's all I want and more. I don't really care. I don't really care. I really care. I'm falling down.
Everyone is what I'm falling for.
I don't really care who it is that I'm for. I just want to be in love. A small little wish of mine. I just want to have a shoulder to cry on.
Thank you for joining us here in Spoon River. We are the ORR Drama Club. Thanks to the Gibbons family for allowing us to use the gift of Nolan's music. And thanks for our community for your support. Please come back again soon. We will be expecting you here on the hill. Good night.